Shalom, everybody.
Shalom, shalom. Shalom. You recording? Yeah, it's recording.
So, we continue the chapter 9. Let's make short overview, and especially that last time, very important part of our conversation wasn't recorded, so to preserve it for the for recordings, we'll repeat it. But by the beginning of the chapter 9, we already learned that spiritual dichotomy by Jews is very specific. It's extremal, so to speak. It's not just two sides of the soul, one with positive inclination, another with negative inclination. It's actually two souls: divine soul and animal soul, with similar structure, symmetrical structure. 10 inner powers, you can see on the picture, which includes substructure. Each one includes all of them, and 3 garments: thought, speech, and action. They're very different. The coordination and hierarchy of how this inner structure is organized is different. By animal soul, the main part is emotional forces, and the intellect is being used as a tool to calculate the ways to achieve the whatever heart desires. It's still higher than emotions, essentially because the emotions are being developed according to the level of the development of the mind of the person. That's what we call maturing, growing up. But still, in that part of us, the main part is heart, desires, lusts, and so on. On contrary, in the divine soul, the main part is mind. Chabad, Chokhmah, Binah, Das, the 3 intellectual powers, they give birth or bring forth the emotional forces of love to God and awe and fear, and so on. But these 2 souls, what they have in common, besides similar structure, mirrored or symmetrical structure, what they have in common? What do they share, to be exact? Body. We have only one body, 2 souls, but one body. Animated by, would it be correct to say animated by these 2 souls?
No.
Not precisely, right?
One soul, either one or the other.
Also not exactly. When we're talking about animating the body, the physical body, that's the animal soul. That's what enclosed in the body directly, so to speak. The divine soul is too sublime. It could control. It has an ability to control the body only through the animal soul, because that's what moves the body. Divine soul is too lofty, too sublime. And as we read in the script, in the Torah names that there is something within the body of living creature which directly associated with soul, with the flow of vitality. That's the blood. So that's the animal soul. It has the what's the fancy word? Abode?
Yes. Abode, yes.
Abode, yeah. The primary residence, which is heart. That's the point of initial revelation of this vitality. That's heart, and the entire blood system, through which the heart sends forth its influence, its vitality to the entire body to animate it, including the brain. Why we specifically single out the brain out of all the organs? Because that's the zone where there is abode of the divine soul, because that's where these two entities come to have contact, so to speak, on the level of our mind. And that's where the influence, the power of our divine soul is initially revealed in the mind. So brain is the abode, the primary residence of the divine soul, and from there it sends forth its influence to the entire body, including heart. Why we single out heart? Because in the strategy of our divine soul, that's the secondary abode, secondary плацдарм, как сказать плацдарм на английском? Base?
Base of operations?
Yeah, base of operations, yeah. When it plans getting control over the entire body.
The command tent.
What?
The command tent.
Command tent, yes. So the primary command tent, the base of operation is brain for the divine soul, but the secondary is the heart. Because to control the body, you need to get into that center, which sends forth the vitality to the entire body. But it's not exactly physiology, because when we're talking about the military plan, the war plan of our divine soul, we're talking about something else, which connected with our physiology, but just because this physical world is the projection of the spiritual answer. So the certain ideas, concepts, and so on from the spiritual realm are being reflected somehow on the level of physicality, including our body, which is a projection of our soul onto this, so to say, the screen of material reality. Why did I mention the war plan? Because those two tenants who share our body, they have different interests, and there's a conflict between them. And each one has its own goals. And it's compared by our sages to the city of which two kings wage a war. Each one wants to conquer the entire city, so the citizens of the town would become
subjugated.
Subjects, right? They would become subjects of that king. And we discussed the plan of our divine soul. So of course, on the level where its abode is, on the level of the mind and brain, first of all the powers of mind should be totally controlled by Chabad, Chokhmah Bina Das, the intellectual powers of the divine soul, in order to contemplate about the greatness of the Creator, to study his Torah and so on. But this is not just the intellectual exercises. It has a certain purpose. Why do we use our our mind, our brain, our cognitive abilities to study the Torah, to think about the greatness of the Creator, and so on. What might be the goal? Of course, it's a mitzvah by itself to study the Torah, but does it have any applied, so to speak, result, purpose? What?
Well, by changing your knowledge base, you change the actions that you're able to do with that knowledge.
Ultimately.
Yeah.
Okay, but
The act
aren't
itself-
you skipping one very important stage between level of thoughts, mind, and so on, and action? There is something very, very important,
Yeah.
which
Through-
is
Through contemplation, it leads to emotion, to having
emotions, feeling, which creates the motivation to act. So that's why the war plan of our divine soul includes as a second stage conquering the level of heart, to make sure that these intellectual efforts they bring results. When we studied how the inner powers of our soul work, how the intellectual powers work, how the Chochmah and Bina, which in the terms of Kabbalah called father and mother, how their union actually give birth to the offsprings, which are emotions. And we usually associate emotions and feelings with our heart. And Tanya mentions different stages of conquering this base, this level, using quotations from the script. Like the heart should be paved with love, right? That's a quotation from Shir HaShirim, Song of Songs. Filled with love, that's next stage, right? And Godush, overflowing. This is not just fancy expressions. This is the descriptions of stages, of levels of conquering that enemy's fortification, so to speak, transforming that conquered place into your own abode. And what are the stages? Paved with love. Paving certain hollow thing creates the shape, right? Hollow but shape.
Coding.
This coding creates the shape. So as the way I understand it, we're talking about the stage of not just having sporadical flashes of proper emotions. It's not bad. I mean, when you think properly, when you learn what you're supposed to be learning, and so on, it creates proper feelings. But it's not enough, to have it sometimes. One of the most fundamental principles of Jewish practice is regularity, so to speak, steadiness, tmidus. In the Holy Temple, the main part of the services was tmidim. How to translate it? The daily offerings. But tmidim means constant, something which happens constantly,
Routine.
always, continuously. And the question is asked, but why is it called continuously if it's only done twice a day, in the morning and in the evening? The fact that it was done regularly, that's what makes it continuously. It creates the flow, it creates the pattern, and it gets the status of something which is always being done. The same on the level of our daily practice. When you create something into routine, in the best sense of this word, even though it's being done maybe for a little period of time. I mean, not everyone can dedicate a lot of time for learning. But if you do it 5 minutes a day, maybe to begin with, and to begin it could be done once a week. But that's part of your schedule. It's in your calendar. It's your routine. Like you have some morning routine. It's part which is part of the day, undisputedly. If you make this part of your daily routine, it gets status of something doing constantly, permanently, continuously. And when that's how you work on yourself through intellectual pursuits, you affect your emotional state, it creates certain shape of new personality. Not just, again, sporadic flashes of good emotions. This is proper personality, but it's hollow. What does it mean hollow? There is space inside. In our terminology, it means that there is a possibility for the other forces, our bad inclination, to get inside, to influence, to make the person slip off and to do mistakes. Okay, that's possible. That's normal. But once the shape of new personality is created, it's already tremendous achievement. But our divine soul wouldn't be satisfied with that. I mean, for many people, that would be already greatest achievement of their life. But keep in mind that this is not the limit, and this is not what would satisfy our divine soul. It wants that the heart should be filled with love to Hashem, with proper emotions. What does it mean, filled? Completeness, perfection, and which would exclude the possibility for our spiritual enemy to sneak inside. But that's not enough for our divine soul. It wants that it should be Godish, should be overflowing. The love to God should be overflowing to the other part of the heart, influencing our animalistic, materialistic nature, affecting, infusing with godliness, transforming it. That's the ultimate goal of our divine soul. Not the destruction of enemy. Very, very, very important rule. Not the destruction of this enemy, but transformation of it, making it great ally. And that would be really great achievement, because our animal part has such a tremendous potential, such a source of divine energy, which even our divine soul doesn't have. So that partnership would be very, very beneficial for fulfillment of our mission in this life. So that's the ultimate goal of our divine soul. But looking at this plan, I mean, sounds like a plan? It's not on the table, it's on the screen. Does it look like a plan? War plan, blueprint. But is it complete?
Doesn't
There are many details, but
It's like-
you think something is missing?
I mean, it's not really. It's just saying what's gonna happen and say how to get there. I guess.
Hmm.
Per se.
What if the enemy puts up resistance?
That's for sure, but at least as a setting the goals, plan as the set of the goals. Is it complete?
How does from emotion equal to paved with love?
Hmm?
How are you going from just emotion straight to having a whole new personality?
That's stages of conquering the level of emotions.
Mm-hmm.
First, just making your mind, to think about what's the mind of Jew should be thinking. That would start creating emotions, but that should become a systematic, creating the shape of the new personality, then feeling it, and then overflowing. Let's see what would be the next steps of maybe, how to say, bringing more details into this plan. והיינו שיאללה ויואו והגיע למדרגה אהבה רבה וכי בישראל למדרגה אהבה עזה כשבייש. That is to say that the person shall steadily rise to attain the degree of abundant love, supreme affection surpassing that of ardent love that is comparable to burning coals. והיא שנקראת because of אהבה בתענוגים. That is called in script love of delight, also a quotation from Song of Songs. Lisanik al Hashem me'ein olam haba, which is the experience of delight in godliness of the nature of the world to come. Lisanik al Hashem me'ein olam haba. Ve'ha'oinek hu b'moach chochma v'seichel ha'misanek be'eskoles Hashem v'idiosi kifi hasagas sichle uchachmosi, which is the experience of delight in godliness, of the nature of the world to come. This delight is in the brain of wisdom and the intellectual pleasure of comprehending and knowing God to the extent that one's intellect and wisdom can grasp Him. So what are we talking about here? That it describes kind of motivation which our divine soul creates for the person to start this way of transformation, to reveal to the person that even within this world there is the source of ultimate pleasure. And this is not exactly what he might be associating with term pleasure in his daily life. Something else, something greater. Ultimately, similar to the usually even at the level of daily conversations. When talking about the delight and pleasure, we compare it to the Garden of Eden, right? Where our souls enjoying the ultimate pleasure. That's the reward for achievements in this life, and it's in the spiritual realm. So it's the greatest which could be achieved. But in truth of the matter, something similar is available for us in this world, because the pleasure of the souls in the Gan Eden, they derive from that revelation of divine light which is available for them in that spiritual realm. And the nature of this delight is intellectual. We discussed it, how is it a result of whatever was done in this world, but the mitzvahs which we perform in this world create so-called garments for the soul, not what we call garments of the soul enclosed in the body, thought, speech, and action, but garments as a certain оболочки, coverings literally coverings for the soul, which enable it to perceive the revelation of godliness. And the more good deeds, the more mitzvahs the person performed in this world, the more garments he created for his soul in Gan Eden, в раю. Как сказать рай по-английски?
Heaven?
Eden?
Heaven.
Heaven.
Heaven, yeah. Heaven. Eden also.
That's it.
In heaven. So the more garments he created, the more spectrum, so to speak, of that revelation of the divine light is available for him. The more pleasure the soul derives in heaven. But the ultimate nature of this pleasure, intellectual. What's interesting, I've read that even on the level of physiology, there is kind of a revelation of a similar idea that there are certain chemicals, hormones, and other chemical stuff which connected with good emotions, or getting pleasures and so on. And I read that the strongest one is the one which being produced when the person gets some intellectual clarity, understanding, or learning something new and interesting.
Eureka.
Even on that level, the pleasure of intellectual achievement is the greatest. That's the revelation of that truth. That this pleasure, which is similar, as we see, to the pleasure which soul receives in heaven, is available here. You just need you just need to explain it to yourself, not understanding that besides these things which we initially might be associating with term pleasure, there is something much greater, more pleasurable, so to speak, to the extent that it's similar to the pleasure which soul derives in the Gan Eden. This is the element of water and seed, means light, which is sown in the holiness of the divine soul that converts to. Oh, 1 second. You remember we discussed 4 elements, the 4 ideas, not in chemical sense, not chemical elements, but certain foundations, certain spiritual concepts which lay as a foundation of everything, combination of which creates these different specifications of all the created objects. You can see it on the level of the structure of the Earth planetary, as a planetary system. Geosphere, sphere, hydrosphere, atmosphere, and so on. On the level of the physical state of the matter, right? Firm, liquid, gas, and plasma. In the realm of our emotional traits, so to speak, and so on. So on the level of our emotions, the element of water is in charge of what? Represents what?
Lust.
Lust, yes. The desire for pleasures. המהפכס לטוב es בחינת המים שבנפש הבהמיס, שמהם בואו טייבס הנוגע אליהם הזה מתחילה. Light that's sown in the holiness of the divine soul that converts to good the element of water in the animal soul, from which the lust for mundane pleasures had been previously derived. כמו שכתוב בעץ חיים, שער נון, פרק ג' בשם הזוהר. שערה נחפכס ליהס טוב, גומר כמו יצר טוב ממש, באסיר הבגודים הצועים ממנו, שהם תענוגי עולם הזה, שהוא מלובש בהם. It's like it's written in the Kabbalistic book of Etz Chaim. the authority of the Zohar, as an explanation of what written in one of the most fundamental books of Kabbalah, book of Zohar, that the evil is converted into and becomes completely good. There is no such thing, like in some other how to say religions, so to speak. There are two authorities in this world: God and the devil, which, how to say, contradicts and fights against. There is devil, Satan, but it's one of the angels, which has its own dirty job, so to speak. But there is no more than one authority in the universe. So from that we understand that what we call evil, which we associate with something bad and evil, in essence is not bad. It exists for a certain purpose, but let's say for this to give us freedom of choice, right? To create a certain array of choices that we should be able to practice our free choice and earn some additional, to score some additional points, so to speak. But not only that. It could be not only overcome, but it could be changed, could be totally transformed into good. And how? What the primary target? Where is the switch and the main part of this, how to say, controlling board? What's the main switch which we should try to affect? And we just said that the element of water, which is in charge of lust and pleasures, because that's the ultimate motivation for any person, to get pleasure and to avoid pain and discomfort. So when you work on removing this dirty garment, so to speak, of animal soul, meaning the garbage which how to say conceals the truth and prevents the person from seeing what's the real pleasure for him, where it is. That's the most effective level to affect, to explain yourself what's the essential benefit for yourself. That's the ultimate pleasure available for him, even in this world, which are similar to the pleasure which even the soul enjoys in heaven. So far we spoke about the before we spoke about the through the efforts of our mind to affect the emotional level of our being, nature, with the main emotions of love and awe. וכן שאר כל מידס שבלב, שהם ענפי היראה והאהבה. So too shall the other midis in the heart, the offshoots of awe and love, be dedicated to God alone. Any questions regarding what we discussed before? Did you understand the idea? Again, it doesn't sound as a daily working plan, but it gives you the essential understanding of what the goal should be, which is already a lot. The, how to say, step-by-step plan cannot be universal, because each one of us built differently. All these 10 inner powers with the tons of combinations, so far each one is tuned differently. So the daily routine of these individual efforts of self-transformation cannot be universal. It might be some fundamental principles which are the same, but they are as being fundamental in principle, they are general. Specifics are very individual.
Yeah, that was my one problem of it, was that it's very general. Like just transform your desires. So, yeah.
But you understand, it's through learning, through studying. Here you can already choose what touches you the most. Through trying, not just through analyzing. You sit down, you think, and right away you create your specific plan. No, you try, you think what might be working. You try, see if it's working indeed, and so on. If not, try next.
What if you've been trying, but your desires are just super strong?
Keep on trying. And you know what? As we will learn later on, you never know what's your mission in life. Maybe this trying and struggling, that's what your soul is most capable of. And through these efforts, through despairs and disappointments, that's what your soul brings the most light into this world. Maybe I shared with you one story. After Yom Kippur, or after Yom Kippur prayer, Rabbi Eli of Berdichev came to one of the congregants of the Hasidim, and he said, I know what you were thinking during the prayer. First, you were asking in your prayer, or maybe it was Rosh Hashanah, you were asking Hashem to give you 1,000 rubles this upcoming year. You're playing that, that you should not have headache how to provide for a family without all this suffering and struggles. You would have enough time, to pray, to learn, and so on, to live spiritual life. But then you thought that 1,000 rubles is also a headache. How to spend, how to invest, and so on. It's too much of a headache. It would take away from you time which you wanted to spend for learning and praying. So you started to ask Hashem to give you 500 rubles this year. So you should be able to. You won't have headache, and you will be serving him calmly and with pleasure. But then you realize that 500 is also too much. It's also a headache. It's also too much of a headache. So you started to ask him to give you 300 rubles. But how do you know? Maybe what Hashem wants from you is your headache. You never know. Okay, but let's continue. We are redefining or expanding the war plan of our divine soul. So too shall the other middays in the heart, the offshoots of own love, be dedicated to God alone. We have 7 emotional faculties, right? Middays. It's not only love and fear, love and awe, though they are the core ones, the main ones. But there are more of them. They all should be dedicated to Hashem. ויהיו להשם לבדי, וכל כוח הדיבור שבפה והמחשבה שבמוח יהיו ממולאים מן לבושי המחשבה והדיבור של נפש אלוקיס לבדו. And the faculty of speech, that is in his mouth, and the thought that is in his mind, shall be entirely and solely the instruments of the garments of thought and speech of the divine soul alone. מחשבת השם ותירוסי לי שיחוסי כל היום לא יפסיק פה מגרסה, namely meditation on Hashem and His Torah, which shall be the theme of his speech throughout the day, his mouth ceaselessly studying it. וכוח המעשה שבידיו ושאר רמ"ח איבוריו יהיו במעשה המצווה לבד שהוא לבוש השלישי של נפש הליקיס. And the faculty of action centered in his hands and also in the rest of his organs shall function exclusively in the performance of the commandments, which is the third garment of the divine soul. Okay, so it's not enough to conquer the heart. Besides brain and heart, you know, like many people, especially when you ask them to put on tefillin, many people say, "I'm a Jew. I'm a Jew in my heart." Nice, but if that would be good enough, why we have other limbs and organs of our body? Brain and heart are not the only parts of our body. So it should be revealed in everything, in the way how we think, in the way how we feel, and most importantly, in the way how we act. So all three garments should be totally conquered by the divine soul. That's the plan of the divine soul. That would be okay. So now let's look at this extended table. So mind, core emotions. That's the first two lines of the part of our previous table, right? Chart. We're not going into specifics and stages how to conquer the heart, which we discussed before. Let's just say that it's not only love and fear, the core emotions, but all other middays. But it's not enough. These emotions and feeling, they should be a motivation to fulfill the commandments. How our soul reveals itself in the outer space, so to speak, through the garments. That's why they call garments. Thought, the inner garment, the beginning of revelation in your inner realm of mind, but it's already revelation. Then it should be reflected in the way how you talk with other people and act in this world. That's already a practical plan. I mean, with all the details, at least. That's what our divine soul wants to do with the body. The whole being of the person should be totally conquered by our divine soul. That's what it wants, not less than that. Oh, now the enemy. Let's go to the enemy of our divine soul. What's its plan? What's the plan of our animal soul?
Cows.
Any ideas?
Cows.
You think chaos? No, not. It's not systematic. You think? I would assume that it depends on the nature of the person. There are very chaotic people. The person may be very chaotic, like the one you sitting in front of you, but there are people very well organized. So their animal soul might be very well structured plan. So what's the plan? We just learned about the plan, the ideas, the goals of our. Not exactly the plan. Maybe I should change the word plan into the goals, right? So what would be the goals of our animal soul? We just learned about divine soul. To conquer the brain, the mind, emotions, thought, speech, and actions. That's the goals. What are the goals? What are the goals of our animal soul? The same exact goals, you think?
Twist.
Yes.
Enjoyment of life.
Yeah. For the emotions to justify
the brain.
the intellect.
It's reactive.
And you know what? It makes sense what you say. It totally in tune.
Intuitive. Intuitive.
So we're speaking.
With which
Intuitive?
no,
tune.
in tune with what we said before. Two kings are fighting for one city. Each one wants the same. We just learned specifically what are the goals of the divine soul. So it's purely logical to assume that the same goals has our animal soul. Let's see what Book of Tanya says. Actually, quoting from the Book of Zohar. Ach nefesh habhemis shemahaklipa, ratzono lehefech mamash. However, the desire of the animal soul, which is derived from the klipa, the other side, is the very opposite. Right? The very opposite makes sense. Opposite meaning to be the king, not to let divine soul to be the king. But this is not what Zohar and Tanya say. Letoiva zodam, for the benefit of the person. She is gaber aleha veinatzchena. Kemo shalazoyna shebezara kodesh. It's very opposite. And it is for the good of the man, that he may prevail over her and vanquish her, as in the parable and the story of the harlot, another new word, in the Holy Zohar. Holy Zohar brings the parable, the story about the king who wants to test his son, or rather to prove that he would prove to himself and everybody else that he is pure and holy and morally strong person. So the king hires harlot. I'm not very familiar with this word. The girl of the most ancient vacation. Oh, you checking what is her?
Yeah.
Prostitute, yes.
Dinah.
Is it?
You don't want to say it out loud.
Yeah.
He hires prostitute to соблазнить, как сказать, соблазнить, выскочил из головы. Seduce, yeah, to seduce the prince. So, in that story, what's remarkable detail and the most essential detail of the story, that this girl, in her heart, she's a good person, and taking her job seriously, on one hand, in her heart, or heart of her heart, she really wants the prince to resist and to prevail and to reject her advances. And this is parable to our animal soul. But we're talking about the Rotsint, will. That's the real desire. There are, even in the way how we operate, we can talk about different levels of will and desires and so on. Like I think we already brought this example before. You come home after the day of work, you run to the refrigerator, take out the food. What do you want? which kind of will, what the desire directs your actions. What do you want?
Be satiated.
When you open when you run to the refrigerator and take out the food, what do you want?
Hunger. Eat.
You want to eat. That's simple answer. You want to eat, so you take the food. But this is not the precise description. Because in truth of the matter, you want. It's not even. It's not the first level of explanation. You take the food because you want food. It's not, but it's true. Otherwise, why wouldn't I take food? But I don't want food. I want to eat. Since I want to eat, I take the food because that's what I eat. But it's also quite superficial. When I say I want to eat, I don't really want to eat. For me, eating is the way to kill hunger, to get rid of this discomfort, of this feeling, and therefore I want to eat. But in truth of the matter, I want to get rid of the discomfort of hunger. But most essentially, the core level, so to speak, of that impulse is the desire for pleasure and to avoid the discomfort. So when I run to the refrigerator and take the food, I want to feel good in the most essential level, right? So when we're talking about the will and desires, we can find different levels of it. So when we're talking about our animal soul, which fights our divine soul, so it wants to conquer this city and to make sure that the body is running after those lusts and desires and so on. Yes, but it's not. It's true. It's true will, true desire. The true desire is to create. Why it's fighting this way? Because that's its job. The person to create the tests for the person to overcome. But the most inner will is that the person should succeed. Our nature, which is so complicated and so might appear so unholy, might have such bad desires and so on, essentially is good. And it's even made this way for our own benefits, because overcoming these temptations ultimately also brings a lot of benefits to the person. So the ultimate will and desire of our animal soul is that divine soul would prevail. And that's the guarantee that what we were talking before about transformation and so on, that's what makes it possible. Because in essentially, what we call bad inclination, evil inclination and so on, essentially it's good. And it could be transformed. And it wants to be transformed. L'chaim.